not sure who's here. I'm going to give a few minutes for people to come in. Hi everyone, welcome to Getting Crafty with Carrie and my live craft at Carrie's Creations. And tonight we are going to make fun memo boards together, and I do a live craft every month from my Facebook page on the first Thursday of the month. If you are interested in live crafts, you would go to my page and go into events, and based on the events you would reply that you'd like to go, and I post the supply list in there each month for you to be able to follow along. So this month we are going to make a memo board together, and the list of supplies that you're going to need tonight is you're going to need a canvas board. This is the one that I have picked up for us to use. You're going to need some ribbon, a piece of fabric, maybe about 1/4 yard or so. You're going to need some buttons. You're going to need some quilting batting, a glue gun, some scissors, a needle and thread, as well as a staple gun. So I'm going to give a couple minutes for some people to arrive. I have a few people in here, and then once everybody kind of gets in, then I'll get started for you. So if you're crafting along with me tonight, then go ahead and get your supplies together and we'll get started here in just a second. Before I get started, I'm going to plug in my glue gun so it can start getting hot. So welcome, welcome. I see I have a few people here. Say hello if you're here. Let's see, I'm going to set everything kind of down into the side and bring it back up as we're working on it so that it isn't all mixed up together. One thing that I do want to request of the people who are watching is I'm going to have you help me pick something. So I see Barbara. Okay, hello. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to use and cover our memo board with this really pretty fabric that I found. It's like a polka dotted fabric with some green and black and gray. And so I am going to use some buttons with it, and I'm going to come around and show you guys up close so that you can pick. Do you think I should use heart buttons on this? Or do you think I should use these really neat shimmery square buttons? Let me know in the comments, and when we get to that area, once we have a vote as to which ones to use, I'll use the ones you think I like that you like the best. So I'll set those aside until that step. Hello, I see my mom is in here. Hello, Mom. Hello, Paula. I've got a vote on the big green buttons so far. Thank you for the vote. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make these really cool memo boards. You're going to start off by getting a canvas board. You can get whatever size you're interested in. They sell these usually individually or as packets of a couple that you can get together at one time. They sell them everywhere from Michael's to Hobby Lobby to various craft stores. So I'm sure that wherever you're watching from, you would be able to find them where you're at. Okay, got another vote for the big buttons. All right, so far we're going with the big green ones, and I'll show them up against them when we get closer to that step. I'll have people vote for that again, but so far it looks like we've got a few people saying to use the big buttons. Okay, so the first step is you're going to take your canvas board, and you're going to start off by using a quilt batting. Now you can also use kind of like that cottony, like it's like a polyfill, but it's in almost like a sheet, and you might see people use it for like making like decorations for like a snowscape and things like that for Christmas. But for today's craft, I'm going to use just a batting that you would use for quilting. And what you're going to do, set my glue gun over elsewhere till we get closer to that step, so bear with me. So hopefully you guys can all see me okay. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of quilt batting, and this is a relatively bigger piece just because I use it for other things too, but basically you would want to purchase a little piece that would be maybe appropriate to the size board that you get, because you can make these big, you can make them small. And you're going to lay the batting out, and you're going to start by taking your board and you're going to place it with the flat side down, and you're going to just basically trim off enough to fit around the board. Okay, so I'm going to do that to start with. Take my scissors and cut a piece. And we're going to cut a piece that would be about the same size as the board. You want it to be a little bit wider and a little bit longer because you're going to be putting this around the board. Okay, so at this point you can see that I've got just this smaller piece of quilt batting. And what I'll do is place the board down. I'm going to start one edge at a time. I'm going to take my glue gun, and I'm going to basically put some hot glue a little bit at a time, and I'm going to take the quilt batting and just kind of fold it around the edge so you can kind of see how the hot glue kind of sets it into place. So you're going to be doing this all the way around the board. Okay. Okay, so now you can see I've got one edge hot glued to the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of pull it tight and do the other end so that it's nice and pulled even. And you can see I kind of made this one, the edge is a little bit longer, so I'll trim it down when we get finished hot gluing it into place. So now we have both of the sides are hot glued. I'm going to take my scissors and just kind of trim this up a little bit to where it's more even with the board. While I do that, I'll say hello. I've got a few people in here watching, so thanks for joining me tonight. I do this every month on the first Thursday of the month here from my Facebook page. Okay, so now we have two sides, and you can kind of see that this is what the front's going to be like. Okay, so now you're going to take the other side, and you're going to just kind of make a little fold over the edge to get the corner fixed down, and then you'll flip it over and hot glue this edge. And don't worry if it's not perfect, because this is going to be also covered with the fabric that you pick out. but this kind of gives it a little bit of a kind of a fluffy, puffy look, so that once we put our fabric over it and we sew our buttons in, it kind of gives that nice little soft, pillowy look when we're done versus just this flat fabric that's set onto the canvas board. Okay. Get some more glue here. Hopefully everyone can kind of see what I'm doing. Alright, I'm going to trim up my edge a little bit again. And then I'll show you where I'm at. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Let's see. Bear with me. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to hot glue the majority of it down. So as you can see, now we have that top layer. Again, it's not perfect, but it's hot glued to the edge. And then we're going to do the last corner. Okay. Did anyone get the supplies and is doing the same craft along with us tonight? Don't worry if you haven't, but you want to refer back to this. It's totally fine. I posted on my page, and then I also will be posting the video on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, and you can look it up. It's called Getting Crafty with Carrie, and I'll leave a link in the comments a little bit later after our craft. And then you can go back in there and watch it whenever you'd like, or if you'd like to refer back and make the craft at a later time. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing this month is, once our live craft is done, I'm going to post the link to it to my YouTube, and once I get 30 comments, that's not that many, but once I hit 30 comments, then whoever has commented on my YouTube page, because I know that you've gone there and checked it out, I'm going to be giving the board away that we make tonight. So kind of an incentive for you to not only watch, but also to go in and check out my YouTube channel. I have videos that I post there every week, and it's on a variety of craft tutorials and different fun things that you can make, things of how to work with particular tools that are maybe in your craft room. And so I'll be posting a video to YouTube in addition to this one every month, or excuse me, every week. And there's lots of fun things that you can look at and watch in there too. So anyway, as a way for you to find me on YouTube, I would love it if after we're done tonight, and once I have the link posted for YouTube, if you go in there, you don't have to watch the whole video, but you can if you want. And then after I get 30 comments from the people who've commented inside of YouTube, we'll win. I'm going to draw a name, and you'll get to win the craft that we make together tonight. Okay, so now we have our canvas board covered with a quilt batting. Okay, so we no longer need our glue gun. Now, the next step is we're going to cover it with the fabric that we've picked out. Let's see. So what I've done is I've picked out this really cute polka dotted fabric, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before with the board. We're going to lay out our fabric. You can iron it if you want to in ahead of time, but it usually gets pulled pretty tight, so it's probably not a necessary step. But if you want to do it, you can. Okay, so let me trim this piece down. Okay, so now you can see I've got a piece of fabric that's about a little bit bigger than our board. So you're going to lay your piece of fabric flat just like we did with the quilt batting, and place your canvas down, and to, just so you know, lay your pretty fabric to the fabric. The pretty side of the fabric needs to face down, okay? Alright, so now we're going to lay the board And we're going to center it on this piece of fabric. And now we're going to bust out with the staple gun. This is just a little handheld staple gun. It's not like an electric thing, so it's nothing too crazy. But I do love this tool. It's nice for woodworking and other projects. And the frame to this canvas board is wood, so to really secure the fabric, I'm going to take a staple gun and I'm going to staple it through. So the same thing that we did with the quilt batting, we're going to fold it around the frame of the canvas board like this, okay? And instead of hot gluing it this time, we're going to take the staple gun, you're going to press it down and staple it into the frame of the canvas board. So just a few on each side. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but you can kind of see that I've stapled it and everything is securely onto the board now, okay? And you can see that when we're done, the pretty side is going to be on the outside, okay? So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it over so that I can get it pulled nice and tight. And I'm going to do the same thing from the opposite end. So you take your staple gun, press it against the fabric, and you're going to staple into the frame of the canvas board. Okay. So now you can see that we have it that way. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing, but with these opposite sides. So fold around the edge, and I'm going to do a couple of staples in this corner just because I want to really get it nice and secure on the corners. Okay, so you can kind of see that I folded it over like a little triangle and then stapled the corners so that the outside edge is nice and good. Okay. All right, so I'm going to continue down the edge of the canvas board, stapling my fabric through the quilt batting and onto the frame of the board. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'd love to chat with you. If you have any comments or questions on anything, I'd love to be able to help answer your questions while you have me here. Of course, I'll go back in and I'll review the comments afterwards and go in and answer any questions that I might have missed. But while you have me live, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. Okay. I'm going to secure this corner. Be careful not to get your fingers underneath. I like to set it flush with the board and then kind of hold it. Then it doesn't skip around and the staple punches in nice and flat. Okay. Hello, Mary. Thanks for joining us this evening. Tonight we're making memo boards. They're really easy to do, lots of fun. You can pick out all kinds of different fabrics, colors of buttons and ribbon. You can really make it a fun style of your own. In my earlier post when I was announcing that I was going live, I posted a picture of a couple boards that I'd made with my niece a few weeks ago when she was over having a craft date with me, which I really enjoyed. All right, so we are almost done securing all of the fabric around this canvas board. A couple more staples, maybe 3, and we'll be good to go. Got 2 more maybe. Do that, and then I'll secure the corner of this one. All right. So now you can see everything has been stapled around to the frame of the back of the canvas board, okay? And here's what the front looks like. So it's nice and smooth, but you can kind of feel it's got a little bit of cush to it because of that quilt batting. So the next step is we're going to add ribbon to it. So I've used, and I prefer using for this type of a craft, a gross grain ribbon. A satin style of ribbon, it tends to kind of, how would I say it? It can kind of like come apart real easy. And so it's better to use a gross grain because it's sturdy. It doesn't like fray. That's a better word for it, which I like. So I'm going to bring it up real close for you. And so you can kind of see it has this kind of ridge to it. It's not satiny. It's kind of like a ridged ribbon. It's called gross grain. Let's see. My mom is saying she wants to make one for her store. I think that'd be great. It'd be cute. You could find some fabric that matches your curtains, or even use some if you have any left over. And you can hang up stuff like pictures or little announcements or anything that you'd like. That would be perfect for your store. Okay, so then the next step is we're going to be taking our ribbon and we're going to basically be kind of making a crisscross. Okay, so I'll do one at a time so that you can see. I'm going to put a ribbon here. I'm going to put one here. Then I'm going to make basically like an X and put the ribbons across. To do this, I'm going to use my staple gun again. So you kind of want to get an idea of where you want to start. So I want to start up at this corner. So I'm going to staple the first edge of the ribbon to right there. Okay. All right. So keeping your fingers out of the way, keeping it flush, pressing it down. And you can see the ribbon is on there nice and tight. Okay. And then we're going to take our ribbon and we're just going to kind of reach across and find a spot that you feel is balanced or that you like. Kind of hold your ribbon in place and flip over your board. And you're going to staple it in again at that point. Then you can trim off your ribbon. You can see on the back I have two spots that have been stapled right here and up here, but this is what it looks like on the front. Okay, so we're going to do that again kind of over on this side. And I think I want to start maybe right about here. I think that looks pretty even, huh? I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to take my staple gun and I'm going to staple that end of the ribbon to the frame of the canvas board. Okay. And then I'm going to bring it around until I feel like it's pretty even. You can always measure if you'd like. I like to eyeball things. I'm like really visual, so I can usually see if something doesn't quite look balanced. But if you are really wanting it to be exactly perfect, you can always measure in between and see if it's matched up with the correct width in between each one. So now we have two. Going together really fast, right? So then I'm going to take ribbon again, and here's where I'm going to kind of make my crisscrosses. And I like to kind of make it, I don't want it to be a complete X, so I think I'm going to do right there. That to me looks nice. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. There's no set rules. You can set up your ribbon and your fabrics any way that you like. Uh-oh, I am officially out of staples. Just a second. Get a few more in here. Should have refilled that puppy before we started. I'll put enough in here that we can... wrong size. have a little technical difficulty. I'm officially out of staples. So, for the sake of finishing tonight, I am going to basically just hot glue these into place, and then I'll come back and I'll staple it later just to secure it. So let me plug this back in, because I told you I was done with the glue gun, but we're going to improvise. And while I'm doing that and letting it warm up a little bit, I'll ask again. We're going to be using buttons in the area that the ribbons crisscross. So, knowing that I'm using this black, white, and gray fabric, at the area where the ribbon is intersecting, I'm going to put little buttons. Do you like these better? Or do you like these better? So far, I have votes for this one. And so far this is winning, but while we're waiting for the glue gun to heat up, let me know which one you think I should use, and I'm going to use those on our craft. Okay. So again, I ran out of staples. Guess I wasn't prepared quite enough for this evening. I had no idea that I was almost out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to improvise, and I'm going to hot glue the edges, and I'm going to come back and reinforce it with my staples like if I had them, and come back and do that later. So for now, let's just hot glue this into place so that we can at least show you what we're doing. But this will work, but it's not as secure as obviously a staple. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to want the other side over here. And then I'll trim it down. Again, forgive me for that. I sincerely apologize. Okay, so you can see we have a crisscross up here. We have a crisscross down here. When you're crossing your ribbons, one thing that I do want you to keep in mind is that to kind of keep in mind as to where it is in relation to the back of the board. You don't want it to be crossing underneath any of these pieces of wood around the edge or in the middle, because we're going to be sewing these buttons, which is basically pushing a needle through the canvas. And if you're blocked by the board, you won't be able to do it. So when you're crisscrossing, just make sure, kind of feel, you know, where it is, and make sure that it's, you know, going to be okay with your canvas. So I'm going to add one more ribbon here. And then we will go to that last step. And again, if you're just joining us right now, I would not be normally hot gluing this. I ran out of staples. So I'm going to come back and secure this with a staple later. But for the purposes of being able to finish what we started tonight, I'm going to just hot glue these into place. Okay. So I've kind of got the idea of where I'd like this to be. And I'm going to trim this down. And so here is your back. And this would be the front. Okay. Now you can add more ribbon. Maybe I could up in here as well. Maybe I'll do that just for the sake of having some of this empty space left out. I re-put this because it wasn't as rounded around the corner as I would have liked. So right now, do you guys think I should continue on with ribbon, or do you think this would be good? I'm going to be having a button here, 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 and here. But I can add more ribbon and add a button here, and maybe over here as well. What do you think? Let me know. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to think about it. It looks to me like we have a vote for the heart, but the majority of our votes are for the green square buttons. So they're going to go in the centers like this. So while I'm waiting on your decision about the extra ribbon, I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle here. And I'm using kind of a heavier, more of an embroidery floss and a relatively thick needle, because we're going to be pushing through canvas. We want it to kind of have enough space or enough oomph on the needle. It doesn't break or bend. Ah, there they are. I was looking for my scissors. They disappeared. I dropped them on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to thread my needle. I have to lick and I have to like take my glasses off because I'm blind up close. And I'm going to thread it through. At least I think I'm going to thread it through. One of the things that you'll see when you're with me is I'm always making boo-boos as I go. And that's okay, because nothing has to be exactly the same. And sometimes you just have to go with the flow. Alright, so I'm going to tie a knot at the end of my ribbon, or excuse me, my thread. So I've threaded my needle. And put my glasses back on. Okay, so it looks like I haven't gotten any vote about the ribbon. I can always come back and add more to it later, but for now I'm just going to stick with the 4 crisscrosses that we have. Okay, so what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to come up close so you can see this, is you want to kind of get an idea where your crisscrosses are, and you're going to come up from behind the canvas and poke your needle through so you can kind of see. Poked it through, pull it, okay, and then we're going to take your button and you're going to basically sew your button in. So this one is kind of like a little crisscross. So I'm going to kind of match it up into the center of my ribbon there. And come down. Okay. And I come back up. Sometimes you have to poke it through a couple times until you're kind of lined up with your button. And I'm basically on this button, because it has 4 holes, I'm going to make little X's. And you don't need to do a whole lot of these. You just want to basically make sure that it's relatively tight, but not super, super tight. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see real good. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do one more X through this. Oops, I'm way off there. I don't know if you saw my needle come out. Alright, I gotta set this down. Can't do it while I'm holding it up. So hopefully you can see a little better, because now I can see from the back where I've come in before. So again, I'm just kind of sewing my button where the ribbons connect. Okay. And I'm going to do one more side here. Okay. See that? And then once you get to this point, you're going to take it from the back here and just kind of go underneath the little bit of ribbon that's there, pull through, and then just kind of put your needle underneath the loop, and it'll make a little knot for you. You're going to want to do that a few times so that your thread is basically knotted in the back and your buttons don't fall out when you're pulling on them. So you're going to keep doing that. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. And then once you've gotten all that tied up and knotted, then you'll trim it and move on to the next one. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to knot this again. You may have to thread your needle a few times depending on how much length you give yourself when you're sewing it. So you may have to cut off and rethread your needle a couple of times. I'll probably have to do it at least twice. So I'm re-knotting it, and I'm going to take another button and I'm going to find another area that it connects. So I'm going to do this one next. So I'm going to try and find kind of like an area to have it come up. And then I'll get it nice and centered over that area and put it down through. Okay, so we're going to sew this an X a couple of times just to make sure it's on there real nice. And I'm using a green embroidery thread that matches my polka dots because I wanted to get green. So I feel like your guys' choice of the green button was a good choice because it's kind of giving us a little pop of green outside of all the black. All right, so we're getting there. And we'll come through and I'm going to make an X one more time just to kind of have this button on here nice and good. It pokes really nicely through the canvas if you have a pretty good sized and thick needle. You don't want your needle to be thicker than the holes that you're trying to sew through for your button, but you don't want it to be a little teeny tiny needle or else it's going to be hard to push through the canvas. Alright, so I've gotten two of these. You can see I've gotten that nice and on there. Okay, and then I'm going to basically do my knotting at the back of this one too to get it nice and secure. So I'll do that now. And we're basically doing this over every area that the ribbons crisscross with one another. Okay. One more, and then I'll be able to move on to the next one. All right. All right, so we've got two of the buttons on so far, and we still need to do these two. All right, so while I'm doing this third button, I'm not going to move up super close to you, but I'll just talk to you for a little bit. For those who are just joining us, I was talking about how at the end of the craft tonight, I'm going to be giving this board away. But to be able to be eligible to win this board, and it would include shipping if you're out of my area, but to win this board, I'm going to have you go to YouTube. When I'm done with the video tonight, I am going to post this to my YouTube account. And I'll put the link in the comments when we're done with the video this evening. But my YouTube channel, I post more than once a month. We do this live craft together, which is the first Thursday of every month. And I will announce what craft we're doing each month well in advance so that if you want to craft along with me, you can, and I'll put a supply list together so that you can gather it before we get together. But I also post a bunch of other videos on YouTube of lots of different things that I make, and lots of craft tutorials and things that you might use in your craft room, how to use some things with the Cricut, how to, use some of the common tools that you might see in a craft room. So I encourage you to go to my YouTube channel, check it out, check out all the videos, watch as many as you can. But when I post this one, because I will post what we do tonight there, make a comment under that video. And once I hit 30 comments, I'm going to draw a name from everybody who commented, and I'm going to give away this board to one lucky winner. And the YouTube channel, it's called Getting Crafty with Carrie. But again, I'll put a link in the comments after this video is done so that you can access it nice and easy. Okay, so we have one more button to go. Thank you, Mom. You like I'm really OCD and love having a lot of balance with what I make. So yes, I kind of like to crisscross it so that it does have a little bit of a change on the buttons. In fact, I don't think I did it as much with this one now that you mention it, so I'll probably take that one off later and redo it. But I'm going to thread this one more time because I didn't have quite enough thread to do all 4. And I'll post the final craft as a photo in the comments later too, so that you can see it all done. You can zoom in on it and decide if you want to win it. Okay, so I'm threading this one more time. And I am going to sew now at this last little area. So I'm going to come up through my canvas. Sorry, it's quiet. Sometimes when I'm concentrating, I need to try and talk more. I'm almost done with this. I feel like I want to redo that one button though, because it didn't stay the way that it did with the other 3 here. But I'll do that later because I don't think you guys want to watch me redo that. Alright, believe it or not, we are almost done with this craft. So I'm finishing up this last button. It's hard to do something when you're poking through the back and you can't see the front. I got it right up at the edge of where that frame was too, so that might be something you want to think about when you're trying to do this on your own, is where the ribbons intersect and where it will be easiest for you to poke your needle through. But I got it. Alright, so let me secure this. And then I'll show you what it looks like when we're all finished. So this month's videos from my YouTube is going to include how to make paper pinwheels. I'm going to make a really cute fan style banner. I'm going to show you how to make a flower out of fabric and then put it on like a little clip for you to, give to a little one and put in their hair. So those are a few of the videos that are going to be up over this next month. Okay, we're all done. Wasn't that like super simple? I'm going to bring it up close so you can see what it looks like. Isn't that neat? And here's the back. Got everything all stapled in. For those couple areas where I hot glued, I'm going to come back and put a staple there to make sure it's nice and secure. But there you go. And then a lot of people will hang these on the wall. You can, because it has kind of a ridge, you don't really need like a hanger, and these aren't very heavy. But if you feel like you're going to be putting a lot of weight on it, you can also, because these are wood, you can get like a little piece of hardware like a photo hanger, and you can put it, whatever edge you want. Maybe you want the orientation of it to be this way. You could put your hanger here. But what you can do with them is you can put photos. They slide up underneath. You can use like just an example. You can use like a little clothespin, and you can clip it to your ribbon and something else so that you can see. This is going to look backwards. I'm going to get a different letter. So you can like clip things to it like that. But basically the idea is you can hang up photos, you can hang up notes to yourself, you can put like little announcements or flyers. You can buy different kinds of fabric that would coordinate with a bedroom or an office, but they're really, really fast and easy to make. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you didn't think it was too hard. But I'm really excited that you came and crafted with me this month. Again, I'll be here on the first Thursday of the month, and I will announce within the next week or two what we'll be making for that craft, okay? All right. There you go. You have a fun little memo board. I appreciate you coming and crafting with me tonight. If you have any questions afterwards, if you're watching this later, feel free to put them in the comments. I would be happy to answer them later. And once I get this up online, then I'll post the link for you so that hopefully you can have an opportunity to win this. Thanks again. I'll see you guys next month.